Well, good evening, everybody. This is Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. This is an update for the Sensitive Information Sharing Environment Fleet Response Working Group. This is a tropical update, and we now have Tropical Storm Rafael. Hurricane hunters flying through the storm found winds now of 45 miles per hour, and you can see that it's got some convection. I'll point that out right around the center. And it may be that Rafael is starting to intensify fairly rapidly. Some of the latest guidance models coming through with rapid intensification probabilities peg it at a 40 to 55% chance that Rafael will intensify rapidly over the next 12 to 24 hours, just prior to making landfall in western Cuba. So this is what you see right now. You see a little bit of a difference in the satellite imagery here because it's the terminator line, the sunset. It's starting to set earlier now, and you can see it just coming over the storm. But right in here, you can see that area of convection that is really popping up right now. That's some strong thunderstorm activity. I have the red sea surface temperatures turned on with the GOES data. I can turn that off because it's safe to say that it is warm enough now, but I can turn those temperatures off so we can just look at these thunderstorms that are forming around the outer edge of the storm and also the outer bands here and around the center. Some of the aircraft that were flying through there just a little while ago reported that an eye wall is beginning to form. An eye wall is a band of thunderstorms that surrounds the eye of the storm, and usually we see an eye form when it becomes a hurricane because we're evacuating air out of the center of the storm, so no clouds form. And we're seeing that sort of come together here. You can see that circulation, that counterclockwise circulation, even thunderstorms getting kicked off ahead of it. Here is Jamaica. This is the island of Jamaica. So showers and storms will be increasing now throughout the evening, all overnight tonight. And I want to show you, I pulled up the mesoscale sector. Let me take this full screen for this, and I'll show you the mesoscale sector here in just a moment. But first of all, the latest information on Tropical Storm Rafael. 4 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center, location 15.5 north, 76.7 west. That places it 175 miles south of Kingston, Jamaica, about 395 miles southeast of Grand Cayman. Winds now are at 45 miles per hour with higher gusts. Movement still to the north at 9 miles per hour. So it's overshot a little bit its movement to the northwest. So we'll have to see how that impacts the overall track as the storm matures later tonight into tomorrow. The pressure down to 997 millibars. And I did want to let you know what the updated watches and warnings are concerning Tropical Storm Rafael. So we do have a hurricane warning in effect for the Cayman Islands. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Jamaica. And here is Jamaica right here. And tropical storm watches have been issued now for the lower Florida Keys. And here is Cuba right here. There's a hurricane warning in effect for the western tip of Cuba. But here's Key West right here and the dry Tortugas here. So it looks like tropical storm winds and conditions will arrive during the day on Wednesday in the Florida Keys, maybe a little bit sooner than that, sooner than Wednesday evening. I'll give you more details here in just a moment. So a tropical storm watch for the lower and middle Florida Keys, that is from Key West to west of the Channel 5 bridge, and also in effect for the dry Tortugas. So that is right here. And so here is that low pressure system that had that earlier chance of developing into a tropical system. That's really not getting any convection around it now, and it's coming in to Cuba right now, but really not a lot of support, just some low-level circulation. That's very interesting. You can see that more pronounced as the sun begins to set. So this is Tropical Storm Rafael, and I want to show you the mesoscale sector. That's the high-resolution sector with 1-minute imagery from the GOES East satellite. So here we go. I'll take the stats off here so you can see this. Remember, I was pointing out that convection around the center here. And I'm going to draw that here because the winds are coming around here in this direction around the storm. And this convection right here looks like it's around perhaps what is the developing eye wall of the storm. That's really quite beautiful cumulonimbus cloud breaking the cap. You can see the bubbles here. So very severe thunderstorms here, and also in this area as well, just to the south. Let me clear the drawings and move the satellite imagery just to the south here a little bit. You can see these thunderstorms too. So this is showing that a very intensifying storm is underway. You can see through the cirrus clouds here. You can see the lower cumulus clouds rotating around the storm here. And I think in the next day, we may see a hurricane. Winds are above 74 miles per hour for a hurricane. But this is spectacular imagery. This is the 1-minute mesoscale sector. And you can see southern Jamaica right here. Let me put it into the picture. So you see some heavy thunderstorms to the west of Jamaica. Here are some that are coming ashore that are blowing outward from the tropical storm Rafael. So these are severe thunderstorms that will be moving in to Jamaica, and conditions will worsen as the evening goes on. Wind gusts could easily get well into tropical storm force in some of these bands that will move through Jamaica. These are just high clouds moving through Jamaica right now, so you can see the sunshine or the sunset. May be quite pretty right now in Jamaica, but just to the south, we have a intensifying tropical storm Rafael right now. And I want to go over to GeoCollaborate. I'm going to show you that full screen here because I have pulled up what is the mesoscale sector, but also the sandwich product. And I have the wind radii displayed right now. Let me turn that off just for a second. You can see that bubbling area of thunderstorms that I was just showing in the mesoscale sector. This is highlighted by the sunset, but look at this. You can see these thunderstorms that I pointed out here in this latest satellite image, the mesoscale sector satellite image in GeoCollaborate. And again, here is Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica, getting a heavy thunderstorm right now as these move to the north as Rafael starts to spin up. So this is pretty amazing. I'm going to back out just a little bit here. This mesoscale sector is small and it is updating in near real time, but I did want to turn on the wind field. Remember earlier in the earlier update, I said once the planes fly through a little bit more and it becomes a tropical storm, we will get a better idea of the wind field. And that's what I want to turn on. This is the initial wind radii. So what does that mean? It means that here's close to the center of the storm right here. And that's where that convection is blowing up, right on the eye wall that's trying to develop. But most of the tropical storm force winds are to the south and to the east of that center and to the north of the center. So here's Jamaica. So as this matures and the wind field expands a little bit more, as the storm moves this way, these tropical storm force winds could impact Jamaica. So that's winds of 39 to 74 miles per hour. That is tropical storm force winds, and that would be impacting Jamaica during the night tonight into tomorrow morning till about noontime, perhaps a little bit beyond that as well. So this is the mesoscale sector in GeoCollaborate, and I'm going to zoom out here to show you the bigger picture. Here's that area of potential tropical development, not because of that circulation that I just showed you that was moving into Cuba, but another tropical wave is expected to develop into a tropical system in the next 7 days. We'll cover that when it gets closer. But you can see the advisories. This is a hurricane watch in effect for this part of Cuba. And I'm going to turn on here the forecast cone of uncertainty for Rafael. And that's this right here. This is updated at 4 o'clock Eastern Time from the Hurricane Center. And I'll turn on the forecast track. I'm going to turn off the mesoscale image so it just doesn't get in our way here. I want to talk about this briefly. So here is the wind radii for the tropical storm, and it is forecast to be a hurricane, and that is by tomorrow at 1 p.m. By tomorrow afternoon, we should have a Hurricane Rafael on our hands approaching the Cayman Islands here. Here's Little Cayman and Grand Cayman over here. So we should have a 75 mile per hour hurricane intensifying to 85 miles per hour while it is in the vicinity of the Cayman Islands. And then before it makes landfall, right before it makes landfall in Cuba, we're talking about a potential hurricane here. Let me zoom in so I can click on it, of 100 miles per hour. A 100 mile per hour Category 2 hurricane could be impacting Cuba. And again, remember, I've showed you the categories, the Saffir-Simpson scale of hurricanes over the last couple of updates. And let's see if I have that here. Yes, I do. So here's the wind scale. Category 1 is 74 to 95 miles per hour. And Category 2, 96 to 110 miles per hour. So by the time Rafael makes landfall in western Cuba, the official forecast is for it to be Category 2 with 100 mile per hour winds. So back to GeoCollaborate here, and that is where this is forecast, 100 miles per hour with gusts to 120 miles per hour. That would be a rapid intensification between where it is right now, south of Jamaica, southeast of Jamaica, and where it will make landfall in western Cuba. And then it's expected to lower its intensity just a little bit because of the land influence and perhaps some cooler water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico. So 90 mile per hour winds are forecast in its position here, and then a little bit further, 85 miles per hour, and then 75 miles per hour when it gets in towards the center of the Gulf of Mexico. This part of the forecast here is very uncertain. Notice the cone gets wider. A lot of uncertainty here, where the Hurricane Center is much more confident in its forecast up to the landfall in Cuba. But where it goes after that is uncertain. Right now, the official forecast has it heading up in this direction that may impact Louisiana or perhaps southeastern Texas later, or Mississippi or Alabama. But some of the models are curving the storm to go down into this direction in the Gulf of Mexico. The good thing is that there is a big trough of low pressure that may tend to introduce more wind shear, and that is wind shear coming across the northern Gulf of Mexico when the storm gets up in this area. That is expected to perhaps weaken the storm, start to rip it apart. That's what wind shear does. But also the sea surface temperatures. I'll go back over to the GOES imagery here, and I'll turn on those sea surface temperatures. I'll move this over towards the Gulf of Mexico and show you what I was just doing here. Here is the Caribbean, where temperatures are in the 80s. Look at this. This is an area just before makes landfall in Cuba at cooler sea surface temperatures. We also have the loop current that goes up here into the Gulf of Mexico, and that is something that could feed the hurricane a little bit more. Or if it moves in this direction, look at this. This is a little bit cooler sea surface temperatures. And that is something that we'll definitely keep an eye on very closely. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull up the sea surface temperature anomaly map. And that's something that we showed during the last update. But I also want to pull that up now. Here is the sea surface temperature anomalies. And here's the loop current, that loop current right here coming out of the Caribbean. And here is this area. We talked about this before, this area of cooler water, cooler than average water. It's not like it's in the 60s. It's only about 2 to perhaps 3. And let me see if I have the legend here for the sea surface temperature data. It's possible that I have that. Let's see. It doesn't. There we go. There we go. So here's the sea surface temperature anomaly data, and in the blue is about 2 to 3 degrees Celsius below average. So this is enough to perhaps influence the strength of Rafael as it comes off of Cuba into this area. There's some warmer waters here coming through the Florida Straits, and then the loop current coming up out of the Caribbean. But this could play a role in the strength of the storm. What I'm saying overall here is that there is a lot of uncertainty when Rafael gets into this area. But there are tropical storm watches in effect now for the Keys. And even though the storm may be a 90 or 80 mile per hour hurricane here, it will be pushing water towards the southwest coast of Florida. I know that's not what you want to hear, and you really don't want to deal with that anymore after Helene and after Milton. But this storm is a little bit different. Back to GeoCollaborate here. If Rafael is over here, and I'm assuming it's going to have a fairly larger wind field by the time it gets up here, it will be pushing water towards southwest Florida, but not as much. Not as much storm surge as Helene, which set record storm surges. Remember, it paralleled the west coast of Florida. It does not look like at this time Rafael is going to do the same, and it's not going to be as strong as Helene was. And certainly we don't have a Category 5 going to a Category 3, Hurricane Milton making landfall perpendicular to the west coast of Florida. So you don't have to worry about any of that. And if you're living in the west coast of Florida, St. Pete, Tampa, Fort Myers, Naples, and you're thinking, my gosh, when is this going to end? We're with you. But it looks like the trajectory of this storm will be away from the coast, which will also lower the amount of energy and the amount of waves and surge that will be pushed towards the west coast of Florida. So you can breathe a sigh of relief there, at least for now, and we'll certainly keep you updated on it. Now, one other thing I'm going to do real time here, I haven't tested this, but I'm glad it's coming on and it's working. I'm going to dive down here a little bit because there is a wave drifter down here in the Caribbean. So the pressure is working, and we do have a water temperature of 84.5 degrees right here. So remember, we showed the GOES data. It was 80 in the 80s, mid 80s, and this buoy is confirming it, this drifter. There's no other ones. Let me turn on the operational NOAA NDBC buoys and see if we have any in this area. Here's one down here that just popped up. That's this buoy here. And this one looks like water temperature 85.6 degrees and the pressure 29.67 inches and falling. And that makes a lot of sense because the whole pressure around this system, Rafael, is making the overall pressures drop. Here's a drifting buoy to the southeast of the storm, and it has 85.86 degree water temperature. This is real time. So we're seeing this at the same time here. And as Rafael intensifies, it could be a rapid intensifier here around the Cayman Islands. So I wouldn't be surprised if the wind forecast goes up a little bit in the Cayman Islands to perhaps 90 miles per hour you may experience here with this forecast. And that's an 85 mile per hour forecast right now for 1 o'clock during the day Wednesday. 1 o'clock in the afternoon is when it's in this position. So the other thing that I want to do, because we may have some people watching, I'll turn the buoys off for now. We may have some people watching. I want to see if I have the most likely tropical storm force wind arrival. It doesn't look like I have that, but I do have the probability of tropical storm force winds. So let me back out here. No, it looks a little bit complicated, but I'm going to turn off the Hurricane Center's outlook for hurricanes and hurricane development. I'm going to turn that off here to get those colors out of the way. There we go. I'll make this a little bit more easy to comprehend. What you're seeing here in this rainbow colored graphic is the probability of tropical storm force winds being experienced along the path, the official forecast path from the National Hurricane Center. So areas in the red, close to where the center goes, you would figure it's a higher probability to experience tropical storm force winds. As a matter of fact, probably hurricane force winds right along the path of the center of the storm. But as we go out, the probability is lower because of the path of the storm. However, look at this. I'm going to zoom in to southwest Florida here. We have small craft advisories and tropical storm watches, probably going to be gale warnings or storm warnings issued perhaps as time goes on. But look at this. This in here is a 40 to 50% chance, and this involves the Florida Keys here, 40 to 50% chance that tropical storm force winds will be experienced. That's why there's a tropical storm warning for the Florida Keys. But notice that that does not touch southwestern Florida. This area in green, 20 to 30% chance of tropical storm force winds all the way up to almost Tampa and St. Pete, down to Naples and down to the rest of the Florida Keys here, although it's a little bit lesser in Miami and places like southern Florida and the Everglades, Alligator Alley, those routes, Route 75 coming down West Coast here. Less of a chance of experiencing tropical storm force winds. That's what this graphic means. And then there's a higher chance, of course, towards Louisiana and the Gulf Coast that tropical storm force winds will be experienced. But again, there's a lot of uncertainty here. And notice the impacts of the storm go well beyond the cone. The cone is just an illustration of where the Hurricane Center feels 66% confidence that the center of the storm, the center, not the whole storm, will pass somewhere within this cone. But again, this is highly uncertain. We're going to have to pay attention to this every day as this moves forward. And that's what we're going to do. So that's it for this tropical update. Wanted to keep you posted on what was going on. And certainly, indeed, we do have Tropical Storm Rafael. And once again, there's the statistics as of 4 p.m. 175 miles south of Kingston, Jamaica. 395 miles southeast of Grand Cayman. Expected to intensify, and there's a high likelihood that the storm could intensify rapidly until it makes landfall in western Cuba as a Category 2 storm. So thanks for watching this particular update. I'm Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications. We'll be uploading this video update to the SISE Hub and also through the Signal app. We'll be back with another update tomorrow morning, probably around 11 a.m., 12 o'clock p.m. tomorrow, as we continue to monitor Tropical Storm Rafael. It's intensifying and expected to become now a Category 2 hurricane prior to landfall in western Cuba. Please take care of yourself. Please watch out for your neighbors. They sure do appreciate it. And we'll see you back here tomorrow.